This news update is brought to you by...
So, I'm meeting Rico later. Gotta check in with the girls, but first, let me check my usage on the MyLime app. Now, what should I wear? Hashtag sexy. He's here.
It's Thursday, March the 12th, 2015, and this is your Barbados Today morning news update. I'm Emmanuel Joseph. Good morning. We begin with news that the much-touted Barbados cane industry restructuring project appears to be facing a serious threat. The Inter-Sugar Partnership, which reportedly negotiated a $70 million sugar bond with ANSA Merchant Bank of Trinidad and Tobago for the project, is casting blame on Minister of Finance Chris Sinclair. The problem reportedly stems from efforts by Sinclair to change a May 15, 2013 cabinet decision which directed that the bond money be used to fund the field side of the project and also its advanced financing requirements. Speaking to Barbados Today from the United Kingdom, Edward Marston, an ISP director, was adamant that the island's sugar industry would die if Sinclair succeeded in redirecting the proceeds of the bond to satisfy an outstanding debt by the Barbados Agricultural Management Company. And Ian Rogers, another ISP director who participated in the interview, cautioned that the most fundamental fallout would adversely affect the farmers.
They're already owed lots of money. Some of them are facing bankruptcy. And this project doesn't go forward, they don't get the funding this year, they will just pack up their bags right now. They've already threatened to do that last week when we had a meeting with the independents, where they said that if we don't get a decent return right now to get us back out in the fields and cutting cane, they're just going to stop, lay off all the workers and stop. And the consequences of that, not just only for the farmers and their families, which is some 4,000 people, but it's all the suppliers to the industry. The suppliers to the industry have already got stocks in that they'll be unable to sell, so they've taken a financial hit. There's all sorts of ramifications spinning out from this. Foreign exchange, huge amounts of implications to this.
There's been a call for Mara Thompson to resign as MP for St. John. It's coming from political scientist Peter Wickham. Wickham believes it's time the widow of the late Prime Minister David Thompson steps down if she wants to protect the legacy of her family, which can be tarnished by the growing CLICO scandal. He told Barbados Today his opinion was not influenced only by Tuesday's unsealing of the CLICO forensic audit report, but because the entire CLICO affair has been casting a shadow over her and threatens to soil her family name.
Thus far, the legacy of her husband has been tarnished. I think that she has been relatively unscathed, and I suspect that will change in short order. Already there are suggestions from Kerry Simmons that she ought to face personal inquiries, and I think that can only get worse. So I just think it's going to be messy. I think it is something that will not reflect well on Thompson's legacy and also her children. You know, if I were her, I would step out of the way largely because the Democratic Labour Party seriously is one that the LP can easily retake, and it would not affect the status quo. And for that reason, you know, if I were her, I would protect the legacy of my own family.
A growing number of Barbadians is at risk of becoming homeless. Making the disclosure yesterday, Chairman and founder of the Barbados Vagrants and Homeless Society, Kimara Safri, said this was particularly so in the case of females and young adults who were turning to his charitable organization for assistance. Safri gave a short presentation at the Barbados Hotel and Tourism Association's quarterly meeting where he pleaded on behalf of his organization for a deepening of the partnership and greater assistance, noting that it took about $700,000 for the organization to carry out its programs every year. Safri said, with the economic downturn, that seems like a very hard task to reach.
So I've had some persons come to me and say that they were in top positions in government and in other jobs, and they lost the position, and through the loss in that position, now they obviously are soon to become homeless. And you have a lot of the soon to be homeless coming at us now for either assistance in terms of how can we better accommodate them. A lot of them now are able-bodied, so they're asking mostly, can you find me a job? They're willing to take any and everything now.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Secure your future, be financially strong. Since 1983, we have been there for you. A smart range of products, great tax benefits. We're the solution to your hopes and your dreams. The Barbados Workers Union Cooperative Credit Union. The Barbados Workers Union Cooperative Credit Union. Humble beginnings to smart loans, smart savings. Save smart and borrow smarter. That's the move for me. Stability, prosperity. We're the solution to your hopes and your dreams. The Barbados Workers Union Cooperative Credit Union. The Barbados Workers Union Cooperative Credit Union.
Welcome back with news from the region that pensioners in St. Lucia can now breathe a sigh of relief. Workers at the National Insurance Corporation have now returned to their desks after 12 days of industrial action. The full story in this HTS News Force report.
The National Workers Union has issued a statement which apparently indicates the end of strike action by NIC staff, effective as of March 11th. The NIC, in an official statement, has confirmed the industrial dispute is over. Facilitated by the Acting and Deputy Labor Commissioner, 4 days of conciliatory discussions between the NIC and NWU has resulted in an interim industrial agreement. The NWU expressed satisfaction with the outcome on wages, which they describe as the main sticking point of negotiations.
We were able to come to a settlement early yesterday evening as it relates to the wages. Both parties were very happy in terms of the outcome. It was a very long meeting, but at the end of the day, I think we were able to sit down, really speak, really discuss the issue and come up with something that will redound to the benefit of not only the company and the workers, but St. Lucia as well.
On the heels of the agreement, the Minister for Labor, Dr. Robert Lewis, called for a more conciliatory approach to negotiations.
I think, for example, sometimes there are positions that different employees take that are not in the best interest, especially in an environment where there's very little work.
In more news from the region, Trinidad and Tobago says it's sticking with Venezuela, although the United States has deemed that country a threat to its national security. Foreign Affairs Minister Winston Ducuran insists that his government will maintain business and economic relations with Venezuela in spite of the declaration by President Barack Obama. Ducuran says it is the government's desire to see a diplomatic solution to the escalating diplomatic crisis between Venezuela and the United States. On the international scene, we are hearing that after a U.S. federal report alleged widespread racial bias in his department, the police chief of Ferguson, Missouri, has agreed to resign. Ferguson came under investigation after a white police officer killed an unarmed black teenager in August, sparking weeks of unrest. Several other Ferguson officials have stepped down in the wake of the report. U.S. authorities have vowed to reform the force, possibly dismantling it. But the question is being asked, is the U.S. justice system racist?
Well, throughout our journey, people in Alabama have been welcoming and generous, but it is very clear that the issue of race is very divisive. There is a debate, for example, about whether or not the criminal justice system in America is inherently racist. Here's what one man has to say. He's a man called Professor Brian Stevenson, and we met him during our travels. And he's a man who was called by Desmond Tutu America's Mandela for his work on civil rights.
Every level of the stage of the process, at arrest, at conviction, and at imprisonment, there are these huge disparities based on race. The police are going into minority communities, they're doing these stop and frisks, they are targeting communities of color, and I don't think there's actually much that can be disputed about that. It is true that we have higher rates of offending in some crime categories, but none of it explains this extraordinary overrepresentation of people of color in the criminal justice system.
And that's our Barbados Today morning news update. You can join us again this afternoon. Until then, remember to log on to www.barbadostoday.bb, subscribe to our e-paper and email updates, or you can like us on Facebook. You can also catch us on Izumi Media in bus terminals or screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. Also tune in to Channel 101 on Lime TV and Mix 96.9 FM to get all the latest news and sports. I'm Emmanuel Joseph. Have a fantastic day.
This news update is brought to you by...
So, I'm meeting Rico later. Gotta check in with the girls, but first, let me check my usage on the MyLime app. Now, what should I wear? Hashtag sexy. He's here.